Let's talk about Raw, even though I don't want to. Oh my god, this show makes me so tired. I mean, every week I just be burned out on this show. Like, yes, Raw is not very good, but geez, it hasn't been good in a long time. But my goodness, especially since WrestleMania, this show has been at a glacial pace. It's been kicking me in my rear end. It's a disaster, bro. Let's try to get through this as quickly as possible. Quick. Let's go. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, they on some dumb stuff. All of a sudden, Drew McIntyre and Damian, they both heels. Who are we supposed to cheer for? Well, they had this conversation where Damian Priest claims he didn't need Judgment Day. He got wooded out of the building, so his promos are not very good. He doesn't feel like a top guy. Doesn't feel like a star at all. We had to get this belt off of him immediately. And onto somebody. This is like, my God, where is Brock Lesnar when you need him? Where is Brock? For God's sake. We need somebody. Tag in John Cena or somebody's got to come in and add some energy to this show. Damian Priest is one of the most drab champions of all time, boy. He sucks. And it's not, again, I'm tired of saying that I like Damian Priest, but it's not even fun to make excuses for him anymore. This is just bad. His promo is not good. Say he doesn't need Judgment Day, but he wants them to be out there anyway for his match with Drew McIntyre. Alright, he's going to wrestle Drew McIntyre in Drew McIntyre's own backyard. Drew McIntyre said he's going to win the belt. As you know, they got to wrestle Finn Balor, and if Finn Balor loses, which of course he did, then Judgment Day is banned from ringside. Okie dokie, so what? I mean, really, who cares? Again, still a heel program. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre was also a heel program. What's going on here? I don't get it. Later, we get the Liv Morgan, Dominik Mysterio stuff, which was actually entertaining. Liv Morgan wants to call Dominik daddy and kept popping up in places where he didn't want her to be. First, she popped up in the locker room to slide him that hotel room key. Then he told the boys about it, slammed the hotel room key like he got the ace of spades. Carlito was like, that's cool. Which, popped me. Then there was an issue at the hotel room key disappearing. And everybody's trying to figure out where that was. Damian Priest was not happy about that. They had a 6-man tag match, which they lost because Liv Morgan came out there, distracted Dominik. She got knocked off the ring apron. Ended up Luthez pressing him to the floor and then straddling him. She straddled him. I was like, oh, no, you're in so talk about being in a pickle. Yeah, you're a real pickle right there, baby. So in the main event, Dominik Mysterio was the only member of Judgment Day that didn't come out there to try to help Finn Balor. JD McDonough came out there, Carlito came out there, Damian Priest came out there, but there was no Dominik. So next week, no doubt, Finn Balor is going to have an attitude, and it's going to be, where was Dominik when everything hit the fan? When they lost, where was Dominik? And likely, if they're smart, Dominik doesn't even show up in Glasgow either. And you don't see Dominik again until next Monday. Then when he shows back up, smiling, they try to ask questions about where Dominik been. Where was he at? And then by this time, hopefully, Rhea Ripley is time to come back. Because you need a star on this show. I don't care who it is. Or you need somebody to do something on this show at some point. But Liv Morgan and Dominik, this stuff has been pretty good. It's been pretty fun. They foreshadowed. Nice little scene where Dominik was sitting there chewing very hard with the picture of Rhea Ripley over his shoulder. That was a nice shot. So that was fine. The Dominik, Liv Morgan stuff is fun. The Damian Priest stuff is dreadful. Anything that involves JD McDonough is ass. Well, Dragon Lee won a match, so I guess we gotta give him credit for that. So the LWO won the 6-man tag, but I don't think anybody really cared. They've been having Judgment Day argue for 2 years and it's gotten nowhere. They literally have been doing this. Damian Priest is the leader, but not really. Damian Priest needs them, but not really. Finn Balor trusts the team, but they keep letting them down. They keep betraying them. They've been doing this for 2 years. 2 years. They've been doing this since 2022. Legit. Like, this is awful, bro. Like, this is not good. I can't stand it. Moving on. Io Sky defeated Lyra Valkyria. Dakota Kai had to help her win because Io Sky can't win on her own anymore. She ended up countering the second Nightwing, which Dakota Kai helped her kick out of the first one. And when she went for the second one, Io countered it into a crucifix pin and won. Then Damage Control jumped Lyra Valkyria after the match. Then got chased off by KC Squared because I forgot they even still had jobs. Lord have mercy. KC Squared came out there to make the save. I guess it had to be somebody. So Damage Control ran off because they were afraid of 2 other very small women. But then again, they're all small women. Afterwards, Io started crashing out. Said that Damage Control's got to change. Kyrie was watching. She looked kind of sinister. Poor Asuka is out. She got a knee injury, but they won't say what kind of knee injury. At least I haven't heard what kind of knee injury. It doesn't look very good because she's walking around with a brace on, and I think she's just leaving the hospital like recently. So she's been off TV for like 3 weeks. So she might have had to have surgery. So this is not looking good for Damage Control. Unless they're about to try to add another member. I don't see why they would do that. They need to start breaking this thing up. Or maybe pushing Io to the back and pushing Kyrie to the front, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how they would do this to make it interesting. But Io crashing out over this thing seems kind of silly to me. Miz was concerned that R-Truth was alone and was upset because every time R-Truth is by himself, no good occurs. He's going around asking about what R-Truth is. He ends up finding R-Truth. R-Truth tells him they have a match against the APA, Farouk and Bradshaw. And a fortune teller told him that it was in their fates and all this kind of stuff. And Miz doesn't believe in fortune tellers. And where did they get a fortune teller from? And they're not wrestling Farouk and Bradshaw. It turns out that it was Scarlett was the fortune teller. At least that made sense. And their opponents were going to be AOP, not APA, which, that one is a little bit more of an R-Truth mistake. I'll give him credit for that one. So that's the tag team championship match for tonight. And I thought, sillily, that's not even a word, that Miz and R-Truth might cough up these belts just to make this thing interesting. Nope, didn't happen. Karrion Kross was talking about winning the tag team titles to show Xavier Woods that they don't need him, and Kofi Kingston doesn't need, Xavier Woods doesn't need Kofi Kingston. That was the plan. They were going to win the tag team championships to prove something to Xavier Woods. Why? Why is Xavier Woods so important that Karrion Kross is following him? As far as I can remember, Xavier Woods is literally nobody on this roster. He is not a world champion. He is not a top-level guy, a blue-chip prospect. He's been there 10 years already. Why do you have to prove anything to Xavier Woods? Why are you trying to impress Xavier Woods? Anyway, they lost anyway because the New Day attacked Karrion Kross and distracted AOP. Then Awesome Truth got a roll-up win. I am burned out on R-Truth, and The Miz, I want them to go away. I want them to go bye-bye, bye-bye. Go, bye-bye, see you later. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I just don't want you to show up to the arena next week. That's all. Just get lost. That's all I'm asking. Snowstorm, specifically on your car where you can't move. That's what I want. I want you snowed in. You specifically snowed in. Otis cut a great promo backstage when Sami Zayn wanted to know why he still listens to Chad Gable despite the fact that Chad Gable treats him like garbage. He talked about how he lost everything. He had his peach, his boy Taki, and he had a Money in the Bank briefcase. He had it all. And then he lost it. And in losing it, the only person that was there for him was Chad Gable. A perfectly sensible storyline. That's what we needed. I like that. So Sami Zayn tried to tell Otis that he was special, then promptly went and kicked Otis in the face and pinned him in a match that wasn't even anywhere near competitive. It was all stupid all the time. Chad Gable, of course, thinks he's going to be the Intercontinental Champion, and he actually might be. Sami Zayn said words, called him a narcissist, said he was abusive, and it's time to move on from this Chad Gable thing, which I 100% agree with. But Otis lost after Chad Gable said he was going to unleash the best of Otis, the most focused and vicious Otis, the Otis that listens. But instead, he ended up distracting Otis, and Otis lost. After the match, of course, Chad Gable started smacking Otis in the face. Otis teased that he was going to do something to Chad Gable. Then once more, he attacked Sami Zayn. The crowd is 100% behind Otis destroying Chad Gable. And for like the third week in a row, they didn't do it. I don't know why you keep teasing this and not doing it. Eventually, you're going to do it, and people are not going to care. All right, you can't keep teasing this. Usually, when it comes in my perspective, I'll give you my perspective. In writing, you do the rule of threes. You show something 3 times, that's it. On the third time, you do it. So, if you have, let's say you have in a boxing fight, somebody throws 3 jabs in a right, you do it like boop, boop. Then the guy's supposed to catch on to your rhythm. Like, oh, he usually throws 3 jabs in a right. Otherwise, you're just an idiot, right? If you show a gun 3 times, eventually you have to use it. Usually that's kind of how it works for me. I don't know about, you doing things 5 or 6 times, pump faking it. But I think 3 is enough. This is at least the 3rd time where it looks like Otis was going to attack Chad Gable. And then he ended up attacking Sami Zayn. And even after the fact, even after that he attacked Sami Zayn, people were still willing to cheer for him attacking Chad Gable. That should tell you that how little they care about Sami Zayn at this current point in time. But they didn't do anything, but at least that was interesting. So, the Liv Morgan, Dominik Mysterio angle was very interesting. The Otis angle remains interesting because they really fleshed out Otis's character. And had you remember that Otis had a good year at one point in time where everything was looking all rosy for him, and then it all fell apart, so that was good. Ludwig Kaiser cut a promo. It was great. He was talking about how Sheamus and everybody else thinks that he's just a mouthpiece for Gunther. But he says he didn't beat Sheamus by running his mouth. He beat Sheamus with A+ ruthlessness, A+ viciousness, and says that he belongs at the top. He's going to eliminate everybody and everything that's in his way and plans to win the Money in the Bank. I like this. Ludwig Kaiser getting a singles push, I'm all in. I'm putting the chips behind him. If it wasn't for the Gunther situation where he is pretty much just a flunky, I am 100% on with Ludwig Kaiser getting a push. I think that he should be an Intercontinental Champion or in that picture eventually. So maybe that's where they're going with this. He's certainly not going to win the Money in the Bank. That makes no sense. But he could be a great challenger for Sami Zayn for a couple of weeks. Somebody who's not going to be challenging Sami Zayn, Ilya Dragunov. They cut a promo, well, they had a vignette, rather, where he talked about being the king of NXT while saying that the Raw is kind of different. But he's fought and clawed, and Bron Breakker's been handed everything because he's the golden child. He's going to make Bron Breakker suffer. Then he talks to Ricochet, who everybody knows is a dead man. If you ever played Final Fantasy and you get hit with death, and it's just a matter of time because you can't get out of this thing, it's just a matter of time before you conk out. That's kind of how it was for Ricochet. You can literally see the sword of Damascus over Ricochet's head throughout the entire episode. Later, Bron Breakker had a promo, a video package of his own, where he said he got to make an example out of people because Adam Pearce didn't put him in that King of the Ring tournament. He's going to take everything and he's going to destroy Ilya Dragunov. And there's only one dog in the WWE, and it's him. He had a really good match with Ilya Dragunov where he speared him pretty much viciously 3 or 4 times, even once outside the ring, before nailing it in the ring and getting the pin. Good match. The show just felt so long that it was hard to get into it because the show was so long. If this was a pay-per-view match or if this was on a 2-hour show, I would say absolutely go watch it. Matter of fact, I do say absolutely go watch it. Poor Dragonov has to take these losses because they called him up with no plan. And so now he's in here just taking random losses and not looking important. He's doing all this weightlifting and, got all this grit. And he's just been treated like a goddamn dirty dish rag all over this show. It's a damn disaster. But somebody's got to do the job, and it can't be Bron Breakker at this point, so it's got to be Dragonov. After the match, Bron Breakker looks like he's going to spear Ilya again, but then Ricochet comes out of nowhere. Ricochet saves Dragonov because him and Dragonov promised to have a match, and Bron Breakker decides he's going to wreck Ricochet, so that's what he proceeds to do. Him and Ricochet get into a fight. Then backstage, he attacks Ricochet again after he spears Ilya Dragunov one more time because fuck him. He decided he's going to kill Ricochet. So he picks Ricochet up, lawn darts him into the truck. Ricochet hits the concrete hard. I think I heard his noggin, his bald head, smack against that concrete, it sounded like it hurt like hell. Hurt like hell. Then he is dragged up the steps of a truck and power slammed off the truck onto a car on a windshield. And that is it for your boy Rick O'Shea, your boy Trevor. He's done. They stretcher him out to the EMS. Samantha actually leaves her job to go ride with him, leaving Pat McAfee to do the ring announcement for the main event. And he was very humorous in doing so, but I could have used less Pat McAfee. But it was a nice little nod that Sam was gone and she left with Ricochet. So somebody had to do it. So Pat McAfee picking up the mic like, I'll do it. He just seems to be so gung-ho for these kinds of things. So that was fun at least. So Ricochet is gone, apparently. So Mike Johnson is doing victory laps around Meltzer especially. Because Meltzer was like, oh no, it's up in the air. We don't know what's going on yet. And I'm like, look, man, it doesn't really matter. We'll see. And it looks like they're writing Ricochet off. But the interesting bit is he did just as much damage to Ilya Dragunov as he did to Ricochet. Dragunov ain't going nowhere. So, I don't know. But it'd be nice to see him. It's probably going to be the first thing people mention when he goes to AEW is, yeah, didn't you just get beat up by Rick Steiner's kid? They were doing some really funny MJF mock promos on Ricochet. That was very humorous. But, so, they wrote him off. What do you think about the write-off? Some people think it should have been worse. Like, you should have just did him real dirty. This was bad enough, I think. They didn't want to kill him completely. They didn't even put him in a match to lose. So they just said, hey, do this spot. We're going to slam you through the windshield. In the old days, he had to at least do a job before he left. He had to do a job and a stretcher spot to get out of the territory. But now they just do him a favor. They made Dragunov do the job, which, you probably should have made Ricochet do it. But they made Dragunov do the job. And then they put Ricochet through a window. So it's the Triple H era. They're doing things so differently now. The League of Extraordinary Lesbians, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark defeated Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. They cut a promo with Isla Dawn and Alba Fire about them wrestling on Saturday in front of their friends and family. And I was like, why? Who have you beat to be in this position? And the answer is nobody. Then I thought, okay, maybe they'll win this match to justify being in this contest in Glasgow. And the answer to that question was also no, because they lost this match too. So you have to figure out, outside of this match being in Scotland, there's literally no reason for these people to be on television. They have not beaten anybody to get into this position. And then they also already lost. So why do you do this? Like, what is the point of this? This was so dumb. This was really, really dumb. And this is even worse because Shayna Baszler was still selling the knee injury from Battleground in her match with Lola Vice, where she got knocked unconscious and probably got CTE. And she still managed to beat Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. So, how about that? Oh, yeah. You got your shit kicked in Sunday night, literally hammer fist to the dome piece multiple times, and you got your knee busted and stretched open, but you still managed to beat these two weirdos who only get in a title match because, well, we happen to be in their home country. Triple H, go to hell. They made poor Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill fly all the way to wherever they were, someplace in Ohio, just to watch this garbage ass match, and they didn't even do anything. They just got to sit there, look good, and watch this crap. Now they got to wrestle all these garbage ass people on Saturday. Like, these people are superstars, man, and they look at the quality of their opponents. It's absolute basura. I mean, the Raw is just a disaster, bro. There's just no star power on Raw. You know, I've seen people complain that Liv Morgan's not wrestling, but she got into a scrap with Liv Morgan. Well, she is Liv Morgan. She got into a scrap with Zelina Vega outside the ring, so she's probably going to beat Zelina Vega probably next week in a random match, and she'll probably go back to chilling for 3 weeks. But there are some people complaining about Liv Morgan, just not being that involved as champion on the show. But that's because they decimated the women's division. You know, they absolutely gutted it. There's nothing left. There's no baby faces. Like, who are the baby faces on the Raw side? Once Becky Lynch left, you only had Lyra Valkyria. That was it, and she lost too. So, like, what do you got left? You got nobody left. So Liv Morgan can't do nothing but do stuff with Dominik Mysterio and Russell Zelina Vega in one-off matches. You know, Miz and R-Truth has been completely aimless since they won the belts. They have no business with the belts in the first place. Sami Zayn has been stuck in this malaise with Chad Gable. It needs to be over. Everybody wants Otis more than they want Gable. And they need to get Otis at some point, man. But the problem is going to be, like, once you deliver it and Otis beats up Chad Gable, then what? And I think that's the big question. Maybe that's the reason why they haven't pulled the trigger yet, because they haven't figured out and then what? Because, of course, they have matches. And then who wins those matches? Does Otis lose those matches and try to put Chad Gable over, or what? I don't know. But Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre is going to be a great disappointment. I don't see that as the main event. Clearly, it's going to be CM Punk costing Drew McIntyre the match so Damian Priest can squeak out of Glasgow as the champion. Of course, that was shit all over Drew McIntyre, as Drew McIntyre, again, at Clash at the Castle, will go 0-2, this time in his very own home country. That would be a smack in the face. You thought that losing in Wales was bad. Wait till he loses in Glasgow. So my guess would likely be that McIntyre actually wins, and Punk is the one who gets in his face afterwards. So maybe you have Punk versus McIntyre for the title at SummerSlam, and then you do Gunther versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, and maybe that's the direction that you go in, because I don't remember seeing that Gunther has to challenge the World Heavyweight Champion. Maybe he wants to, but no, I don't see anywhere that he has to. So, I don't know. So either CM Punk is going to cost Drew McIntyre the belt, or he's going to let him win it and then try to win it from him, which I think is probably the best option, is for McIntyre to just straight up win the title and Punk to be considered a top contender, and for Gunther to just jump ship and try to wrestle Cody on SmackDown. So that's the only way to save this show. As far as the women's title and the tag team titles, you can forget it. And even once Chad Gable becomes the Intercontinental Champion, which I'm hoping that's the case, I don't see any baby faces lined up for him. There's nobody really ready for him to wrestle other than Otis. And I would not imagine that he would lose the belt to Otis, because then who will Otis wrestle? So. But let me know what you guys think. Raw Select, as usual. It was so boring. It was so dry. I was so sleepy. I got sleepy at 9 o'clock. Usually, I don't get sleepy. And I get up at the same time pretty much every day, whether I got to go to work or not. Only when Monday Night Raw and Dynamite are on am I tired at 9:15. It's crazy how that works. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. We just gonna